The year is 1942. World War II rages across continents and oceans. In the Pacific, the Japanese war machine sweeps through Southeast Asia, threatening India and isolating China. Allied supply lines are cut, and a desperate plea goes out. China, a crucial ally, is starving for supplies, its forces battling the Japanese virtually alone. How do you supply a nation when every conventional route is blocked? You fly. Not just over mountains, but over the towering, treacherous backbone of the world, the Himalayas. This is the story of the Hump, the most dangerous and vital air supply route in World War II. An operation that saw thousands of young airmen flying temperamental cargo planes defy impossible odds to deliver lifeblood to a besieged ally. For 3 years, from 1942 to 1945, this wasn't just a flight. It was a daily battle against unimaginable weather, perilous terrain, and a persistent enemy. It was a route so deadly it became known as the Aluminum Trail. Imagine flying a heavily laden transport plane, not over gentle hills, but over mountains routinely soaring 15,000 to 20,000 feet, with peaks like Mount Everest looming over 29,000 feet. The journey began in airfields in Assam, India, weaving through valleys and passes into China. There were no marked airways, no reliable weather forecasts, and certainly no air traffic control as we know it today. Every flight was an exploration into the unknown. The weather was the first, and often the deadliest enemy. Pilots faced monsoon rains that could ground entire fleets for days, savage updrafts and downdrafts that could rip wings off planes, and sudden, violent electrical storms. Temperatures could drop to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing controls and turning pilots into ice statues. Visibility was often zero, making instrument flying a constant, terrifying gamble, especially for crews more accustomed to clear skies. Compounding the natural dangers were the crude conditions. Airfields in India were often muddy, makeshift strips, sometimes carved out of jungle, while Chinese airfields were barely better. Navigation was primitive. Pilots relied on rudimentary maps, compasses, and dead reckoning. If they drifted off course, they risked running into unseen mountain faces or, worse, Japanese fighter patrols. The workhorses of the Hump were initially the C-47 Skytrain, dependable but underpowered for such altitudes. Later, the C-46 Commando arrived, a larger, more powerful aircraft, but also notoriously temperamental. These planes were not designed for the extreme conditions they faced. Their engines often struggled in the thin air, prone to overheating or failing entirely. Ice buildup on wings was a constant threat, rapidly increasing weight and killing lift. The men who flew these planes came from all walks of life, but shared a common grit. Many were young, barely out of flight school. They endured punishing schedules, often flying multiple missions a day, sometimes 12 to 14 hours in the cockpit, with minimal rest. The psychological toll was immense. Every takeoff was a gamble, every landing a prayer. Yet they kept flying day after day, week after week, because the stakes were simply too high. These crews became experts in survival. They carried emergency rations, blankets, and sometimes even pistols for protection if they crashed in remote, hostile territory. Many were rescued by the indigenous people of the Naga Hills, guiding them back to safety. But for every rescue, there were many more who were never found, their planes swallowed by the vast, unforgiving mountains. As if nature wasn't enough, the Japanese Air Force posed another deadly threat. Their fighter patrols, primarily using Oscar, Nakajima Ki 43, and Zero Mitsubishi A6M fighters, would lie in wait, especially near the Burma side of the route. These transport planes were slow, unarmed, and easy prey for the nimble Japanese fighters. Every flight carried the risk of interception, forcing pilots to fly evasive maneuvers in already perilous weather conditions. The losses were staggering. By the end of the operation, over 1,300 American aircraft were lost over the Hump, along with hundreds of British and Chinese planes. More than 1,000 men were killed or went missing. For every 1,000 tons of cargo delivered, an average of 1.2 pilots were lost. The Aluminium Trail was not just a nickname, it was a grim reality, with the wreckage of planes littering the mountain slopes. Despite the incredible losses, the over-the-hump operation was a resounding success. In 1942, less than 1,000 tons of cargo were delivered per month. By the end of 1944, that figure had skyrocketed to over 46,000 tons monthly, peaking at 71,000 tons in July 1945. This wasn't just ammunition and weapons, it was also medical supplies, food, and crucially, fuel for the American B-29 bombers based in China, poised to strike at Japan. The very act of sustaining China through this aerial bridge tied up vast numbers of Japanese troops, preventing them from being deployed to other crucial theaters in the Pacific. It allowed General Claire Chennault's Flying Tigers to operate and sustain their air defense of China, a constant thorn in Japan's side. The Hump kept China in the war. The logistics alone were monumental. Air Transport Command, ATC, built and managed a network of airfields, maintenance depots, and communication hubs across India and China. Thousands of ground crew, mechanics, and logistics personnel worked tirelessly, often in oppressive heat and humidity, to keep the planes flying. Their dedication was as critical as the courage of the pilots. The experiences gained flying, the Hump revolutionized military airlift. Pilots learned invaluable lessons about high altitude, extreme weather flying, instrument navigation, and long-range transport. This knowledge would directly influence post-war aviation and global air logistics, laying the groundwork for how modern military and commercial cargo operations are conducted around the world. Behind every statistic, every ton of cargo, lay a personal story of courage. Take, for instance, Sergeant Walter R. Gordon, a radio operator. On a routine flight, his C-46 encountered a severe downdraft. The plane, overloaded, began to lose altitude rapidly, engines straining. Gordon, against orders, cut loose nearly 5,000 pounds of vital cargo, including engine parts, by hand to lighten the plane. His quick thinking saved the aircraft and crew. Or the story of Nancy Love, one of the few women to fly cargo for the Air Transport Command, though not directly over the Hump itself. Her contributions highlighted the diverse roles supporting the larger mission. While male pilots braved the direct route, women like Love flew critical supply runs to the departure airfields, freeing up male pilots for the more dangerous Hump missions. The commitment was total from all who served. The scars of the Hump remain. Even today, the mountains occasionally reveal another lost aircraft, a grim reminder of the sacrifices made. These mountains hold the stories of thousands of young men who pushed the limits of aviation, of human endurance, and of courage. Their names may not be as famous as fighter aces, but their mission was no less critical. The over-the-hump operation stands as one of the most remarkable logistical and aerial feats in military history. It was a bridge of air forged through sheer will and sacrifice that kept an entire nation in the fight against tyranny. It's a testament to the unyielding spirit of those who flew, maintained, and supported the most dangerous supply line in the world. When victory was finally declared in the Pacific, the last flights over the Hump were a quiet end to an epic chapter. The supply lines were finally opened by sea and land, but the legacy of the Hump pilots lived on, etched into the history of aviation. Their contribution ensured China's continued resistance and paved the way for Allied victory in Asia. It was a victory measured not just in bombs dropped or battles won, but in tons delivered and in lives saved. The Aluminium Trail may have been perilous, but it was also a path to freedom. A monument not made of stone, but of courage, grit, and the enduring human spirit that refused to surrender, no matter the height of the mountains or the ferocity of the storm. A story of the forgotten heroes who truly flew the world's most dangerous supply line.